Hey, what's up everybody? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Got a lot of gear here, a bunch of different ways you can set up a survival kit, an emergency kit. And the purpose of this video today is basically to get you and me thinking about how and why do you build a survival kit, an emergency kit. So I've been doing this for a while, building different kits and putting videos up on YouTube. And one of the things I've noticed with people when they make videos about survival kits is sometimes there's some like classic items that everybody feels like they have to have in a survival kit. And there are some things, like cordage, or over here you could say I got some gorilla tape, so duct tape, gorilla tape, that type of stuff. Those are great things to have pretty much in, a lot of different situations. But I guess my challenge that I want to bring up for us to think about today, and we'll get the discussion, after this video started in the comments down below, but what are you building the kit for is the primary question that's going to shape really everything else that goes into the kit and how you put the kit together. So if you've seen my video for my car emergency / survival kit, you'll see that it's in the LA Police Gear brown operator bag. And the reason I put it in that bag was because I wanted something I could grab, put on my back, and split if I had to leave my car behind, because that's the bag that I keep in my car at all times. The first bag that I built was in one of their big jumbo bailout bags. It's kind of like a huge range bag or a huge, kind of messenger sling bag type thing. So when I put that first kit together, I put a lot of stuff for survival, like, lost in the woods or stuck in the woods type situations. And then I started to think, and I was like, what's the likelihood I'm going to be in the middle of nowhere, and I've said this before, but what's the likelihood I'm going to be in Maine, 50 miles from the nearest town and 250 miles from my home, and not be around anybody, not have any cell phone service. If I'm going into that type of situation, I'm probably doing backpacking, some hardcore wilderness survival stuff, maybe hunting, something like that. And so I've got all my gear with me for those situations. Like if I'm going backpacking, I've probably got a tent or some sort of shelter. I've got a sleeping bag. I've got my cooking stove, that type of stuff. So I was building a kit thinking, well, I can have this in case, I'm stuck in the middle of the woods. And I'm like, how often am I going to be stuck in the middle of the woods? So I started to reshape my kit around what I would actually need and what I was most likely to use. And so again, that's the first thing. What's the purpose of your kit? What are you using it? What are you building it for? What are the situations you're going to use it in? Because that'll help you really shape how you build the kit. So let's talk about some of the gear I have here. Right here we have the Oakley kitchen sink backpack. So first of all, it's a backpack, which means if you build a kit in a backpack, you could, if you need to, throw it on your back and then you can leave, say it's a get home bag or a bug out bag, and you're like, I just got to grab this stuff and go. Now it's easier to do that with this versus if you built a kit in a ammo box or if you built a kit in a toolbox like this. So, if you got to think about what's the purpose of the kit. Is it going to have to be transported for short distances or long distances? Like if it's going to be transported for a long distance, I probably don't want to have it in this. I want to have it in a backpack. This is I believe it's an NC Star range bag. This has a shoulder strap. It's got handles. I could transport this for a long distance, not with a ton of trouble, but it's definitely easier to wear a backpack than it is to sling something on my shoulder, at least for me. So, when I'm thinking about moving with a kit or moving with an emergency bag, bailout bag, I'm thinking about a backpack as opposed to something like this or something like the toolboxes or the ammo box. So think about, what are you building it for? Also, you're going to be transporting it. One of the advantages I find with like the toolbox or the ammo box is that you can organize things a bit more easily. So you can see these two yellow sections on top. You can keep small gear there. In a toolbox, you've got that tray that often sits on top. You take that out and then you have items underneath it. In a bag, if you've got lots of pockets, that's cool. But if you have a lot of stuff buried down on the bottom of the bag, and then you got to open it, take everything out of the top, and then reach down to get stuff out, that can be a hassle. So that's stuff to stuff to think about. So, or how you're going to organize your kit is something to think about as well. When it comes to gear, you want to think about who's going to be using it and the number of people who are likely to be around. So if you're a single guy or a single lady and you travel by yourself a lot, maybe you don't need gear for a lot of people. But for me, because I got a family, I got a wife, I got 2 kids, I got to think about, how can I affect rescue or take care of myself if my car goes off the road or whatever, but also taking care of kids. So for example, in my kit that I keep in our family minivan, I've got some glow sticks and some things to keep the kids occupied. So you want to think about who's going to be involved in the kit when you actually build it, or using the kit when you actually build it. Another thing to think about is moving beyond the cool factor to the practical factor, right? So I got this shovel here. This was from Harbor Freight. You can see it still has the sticker on it. I've never used it, but this is the type of thing that I would keep in the trunk of my car or the back of our minivan, because if ice and snow gets wedged underneath the tires and stuff, now I've got a way to actually dig stuff out with this type of shovel, as opposed to a huge snow shovel that's got like the end of it is this long and it's made out of hard plastic. This is going to work better in that type of situation. So you want to think about how you're going to be using it, and move beyond just the like, it'd be really cool to have this in the kit, to am I going to actually use that? I'll show you right here. This is a knife that I'm just really liking a lot. This is the Tops Brothers of Bushcraft knife. This is in the tumble finish, so no coating. You've probably seen it before with the black coating and then nothing on the Scandi grind, but this has no coating whatsoever. So this is great. For me, is this the knife that I want to put into a kit? Part of the thing when it comes to, for me, when it comes to putting a kit together, is that is gear that I'm probably, let me keep that in the camera frame there. That's gear I'm probably not going to touch and take in and out of the car. The reason is I want to have it in the car at all times. And if, let's say I put this knife in there and then I took it out to go do some bushcrafting and I forgot to put it back in, then I'm out and a situation comes up and I need a knife. Well, the knife is at home, or it's in my bushcraft bag. So I try to, like, whatever I put in my bag for emergency situations, it stays there. I don't take it out unless it's being used immediately, and then put right back into the kit when it's done. So that's something to think about as well. Not to have a piece of gear and then take it out and then, oh, I'll remember to put it back. You might not, and so that can be a bad situation. Another thing to think about when it comes to building a kit and how you organize it is the weight of the kit. All right, so if your kit or your survival bag, emergency bag, whatever, weighs a ton, can you transport it easily, even if it's in a backpack, or even getting it out of the car and having to do something around the car? Some people build these just enormous kits which have lots of good gear in it, but if you can't move it when you need to, obviously that's not going to be a great situation. So that's another thing to actually to think about. Now, one of the things to consider, which is, I don't know if it's controversial, but there's always this like kind of gray area. You can see over here I have a Coast headlamp, and I think I got that at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, and it works fine. Is that the headlamp I want to keep in the car for emergency situations? I haven't used it a ton. It's worked fine when I have used it, but I'm a little like, I don't know about the quality of it. So maybe it's great and it'll work great, but if not, I want to have something I know that I can go to. So for example, I keep a Princeton Tech headlamp in my car at all times. Had no issues with it. It's has a great reputation. It's worked awesome. So I'm like, I wish I could have that in my, for my camping gear, but it's worth it for me to keep a high quality product like that in the car so that it's ready to go at all times. So think about the quality, the level of money you want to spend, and realize in the process of building a kit, sometimes it's going to take time. You can't just like build it overnight and be like, okay, it's done. My kit that I keep in the back of my car took me quite a while to build. And I mean, people ask all the time, how much does it weigh? 26 pounds is how much everything weighs in the bag. How much did it cost? I can't say unless I went out and kind of recalculated every individual item, because so many items I just bought slowly over an amount of time, or I finally got an item from a company that I wanted to add to the kit. So it's hard for me to say this is exactly how much I spent, but be patient with yourself. Take your time as you're building your kit so that you've got it built and ready to go, and you don't feel like I got to do it in 1 week or whatever. So that's another thing to think about. The other thing I'll mention in relation to other people, I'm talking about myself, my wife, my kids when it comes to the kit. I've also got in my kit, both the one I keep in the back of my car, and then I keep a small amount of items in the back seat, is for other people. So I keep a handful of small flashlights. This right here is the PowerTac flashlight. It's pretty beat up. I'm in the middle of reviewing it, but this is an expensive light, over 1,000 lumens. This is built for law enforcement, military, that type of line of work. So this is probably not the light I'm going to give away to somebody if they need a flashlight. It's not a good investment of money per the person who's using it. Or if I saw a police officer who needed a flashlight, here, if you need it, you can have my PowerTac flashlight. But somebody walking down the road, it's evening, and they've got like dark clothing on, nothing reflective. I can just be like, yo, here's a flashlight, use this, it'll give you a little bit more safety. you know, $5, $10 flashlight that they can use for the next, I mean, they can use it forever, but, you know, the next, you know, whatever, if they're going to their car, they're leaving their car, you know, whatever the situation is. Basically, I'm saying, think about items that are not just for you, your immediate family or friends, but maybe you could help somebody else out in a situation by having some gear ready to give out to them. You can go to Walmart and buy a poncho or something for super cheap. And I've shared this before, but I usually keep some low-cost fleece blankets in my car that I've picked up at Walmart, and I've given away in one like 2-month period. I gave 2 away. I came across a car accident, and then I forget the other situation, but I gave 2 away. So it's not a big deal. It cost me $4, but you can help somebody else out. It's not a big investment of money, and you can keep it in the back of your car. So, you know, just be aware of that as well. One final thought I want to throw out to you is think about gear that you're going to use the most often, and that you might need immediate access to, and you might not want to keep it, say, in a bag in the trunk, but you want to keep it in maybe a smaller bag in the back of your car. And for me, I learned this in a couple ways. One is that I was keeping my clothes, like extra hat, like I have a boonie hat, I've got a beanie, a North Face beanie, I've got some like long underwear, an extra fleece, things like that, raincoat, and I had it in a bag, sealed, like a plastic bag, sealed, and then in the bottom of the bag in my trunk. But then I go somewhere and I'm like, you know, it's a little bit chilly. I'd love to have my hat. I got to dig through everything to get that. So what I decided to do eventually was take all the clothes out, put them in a very small kind of duffel bag. It's probably, you know, 16 inches by 8 inches by 10 inches or 8 inches. And I put that behind the passenger seat. So I have access to that stuff all the time that I can just grab, you know, throw on a beanie, throw on an extra sweatshirt or something and go. So think about where you're going to keep stuff. Another thing I did is I had a bunch of reflective gear, and it was first it was in the bag, then it was in the back seat, and I found when it was in the back seat, I had it packaged up so nice and tight in this little Ziploc bag. And I came across a situation where I was going to be getting out of the car at night, but I didn't have that gear, and I had to get out quickly, and so, you know, trying to tear through it in the dark. So it wasn't as accessible as I wanted it to be. So instead, I had these 2 reflective bracelets you can put around your wrist, put around your ankles. And they're made by a company called Nathan. They make a lot of gear for runners. So what I did is I wrapped them around my e-brake. So now if I need them, boom, I can just grab them. Now I got something reflective, and I've got a hat brighter than this yellow here, kind of like a neon yellow, neon green, that's right in the back. So if I had to get out at night, boom, I could grab that hat, put it on. I got a vest right there. I could put it on, put on my 2 reflective bands, and then I can get out into the night, but a little bit safer. So just think about where you're positioning your gear so that you can have access to it really quickly. Now there's a million different things you could talk about when it comes to kit mentality, how to build a kit, etc., etc. So I just want to get the ball rolling and get you thinking. Maybe if you're like, I want to build a kit, but I don't know where to go with that. Hopefully this has got you thinking, you know, moving in that direction about what you put the kit in, where you put it, what you actually put in the kit. So, you know, not just the bag you're using, but what are you putting in the bag? How effective is it going to be? How often are you going to use it? What level are you willing to invest money-wise into a kit that you may not use that thing but twice a year, but when it's there, is it ready to go all the time? Again, moving beyond the cool factor to things you're going to actually use versus, you know, it's really cool to have an extra PVC bow in my trunk. It's cool, but I mean, the question you have to figure out is, are you going to use it? Sure, it's nice to have some cool things, but just, you know, think about when you start taking up trunk space with something you may never use. That's something to consider. So, yeah, let's get the discussion started in the comment section down below. Put some comments. What do you keep in your bag? What are the things you've thought through? Maybe like 2 or 3 key things you think about when you put a kit together, or when you're thinking about it now in the future of putting a kit together. What are those things that are really shaping how you're organizing and building your kits? So let's get that discussion going. As I always close the videos out, we'll do it the same way. Thanks as always for checking out Everyday Tactical Vids here on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.